a perfect segue into something that I'm curious about.
Yeah.
I want to know how you talk to potential clients that might have a rough history with a previous SEO agency or experience with their website, where they might be used to paying maybe like a few $100s a month for something they're not really sure what they're getting, right?
Right.
And they're like optimizing their site and really probably, without all the details, thinking that they're like getting maybe some local SEO services where they might be posting a Google My Business posting, watching over it and stuff like that. I just don't have evidence of anything actually being done. No new content on the website. Nothing has changed in 5 years from this website. That sort of situation where the business owner is like used to that. They saw some leads coming into their website, but now that they've dropped that for a year, in one instance, thinking about a plan that is so involved and has so many components to it and is not just single faceted into just like citations or only writing content or anything like that. That might be too big of a, just too big of a something. I don't know, I'm losing my thoughts, but too big of a bite to take off, just going from one extreme to the other.
Yeah, going from small to a large plan.
Yeah.
Do you have any when you offer your plans like that, do you have anything other than here's the big plan, or do you have any like middle, where it's not quite as big of a jump?
To a certain extent, but like I've heard David say before, is like there's still a minimum level of engagement.
Yes.
Yes. And so I think the minimum level of engagement is kind of where they're even balking at.
Yeah.
And I could probably put together a plan bigger and better for them, but they're also working off of like a $0 annual budget at the moment because they've had a budget, they've spent some money here and there over the years, but over the last year they've barely had any, and they had other projects going on, sort of thing, so going from say 0 to 30,000-40,000 a year for a piece of their overall marketing budget is still intimidating to them, I think.
This is a very hard thing, especially when you're starting to provide SEO services, because it's always hard to say no to clients. You feel like you've got to take on these clients, but sometimes these clients like this might end up being a bad client. Sometimes you just have to say, at this point, you can't make my minimum. I understand. Why don't we talk when you can? Because there is a finite amount of stuff that has to happen to move the needle. And if they just don't have the budget to spend to do that, well, this isn't the best marketing channel for them, right?
Right.
And so that's really a tough question, but it will serve you as a business owner better later too, because then you're not dreading working or realizing that you're bleeding money working for this client. Everyone in this call is a very altruistic and kind person, right? And we want to help people, but we also got to have good, healthy boundaries and not help people and hurt ourselves by taking a loss just to take them on. So maybe there's a way to find a service that will help them regardless. Like, what if it was something like, hey, for a one-time price, I can set you up with Google Analytics. And that's going to help you no matter what marketing you do, because it's going to help you see what's working.
Right.
right? And so even if you, client, do your own SEO for a year because you got to save money, you'll know whether that's working.
You'll know it's properly set up too with the proper goals, and not just like who knows what they did if they did it right.
Right. I also felt that just honest heart to hearts with people tend to do well. And just listen, a business owner to business owner, it costs me money to do this. Right. I have to pay for writers, I have to pay for services, I have to pay for tools. And so, yes, I know you're used to paying $100 a month. I don't know how anybody could make that work because I know how much this stuff costs. And I'm very sorry because it sounds like you were taken advantage of. But this isn't free. You know, it isn't free because these tools cost money and my mortgage company does not take good intentions. Right. And every business owner is going to understand that, you know, and it might be okay just to say, for now, this is probably isn't the right fit for you. And encourage them into like a package, or maybe it's like, well, as you have budget, we do things a la carte, one at a time. This month, we're going to do Google Analytics, set that all up, set up all your tracking. Now you've got that. Good. That's going to last for years. Maybe later, we're going to do a one-time project. We'll do keyword research. Maybe we're going to limit that to 5 pages. Right. And I'm going to give you some suggestions on what you can do to get a little bit more out of those pages. And you're going to implement it, client. But we're just doing a little bit at a time to help start moving the needle, but I can't do a full service plan for you at that rate.
Right.
But you might be able to provide one-off things, right?
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's like, hey, you know, I know you're used to paying that little for each month, but like, what if we were just to write 2 blog posts a month for you? And it's going to be more because we're going to write good quality stuff. And you're as a business owner, you're going to upcharge it for your time and not just pass it through to them. And now there's a little bit, but it's also something you know is helping them. And it's still cost effective within their budget. And then you can kind of stay within their sphere of influence for when they do have budget open up for it.
Yeah.
But I've been there before, especially when I got started, and it felt like I had to say yes to everybody. And I there was one client that she said, I'm never paid so much for SEO in my life. And you know, I was not charging her my current rates.
I was gonna say you probably were like a lot lower than you should.
I was a lot lower because she was one of my first clients.
Yes.
But it wasn't chump change either, right? It wasn't going to be rich off it, but I was going to cover my costs and make a profit.
Yeah.
And you know, I just was very gentle and showed her all that she's getting. And as she talked to me, she realized she was getting access to someone who knew what they were doing and cared about her. And she went ahead and took a chance. And it paid off for her, right? We were able to move the needle. But you know, there were other clients that I just said, hey, you know, I don't think we're the right match. And I'm glad I turned my back on them because I would have been miserable. I would have hated life. I wouldn't have felt good about what I was doing because I know I couldn't be doing everything for them.
Yeah.
And
some of these, you know, I definitely am not scared to walk away from a client, although I am somebody that has a hard time saying no. Is that
I understand. Me too.
Me too.
You know, I don't know, but a couple of these that I have in mind as I'm speaking, I mean, they're pretty ideal. You know, the opportunity that they have, I think, is tremendous. just coming from where they are currently, and seeing where they could go with that. And I think what's hard is trying to talk to them about something that they have no idea what I'm saying. You know, even as I speak about it and tell them what their, you know, what deliverables are and what they can expect, they just don't understand how it works. So I think that's just part of the barrier for me.
And that's why I always push my clients into results. They don't really care what I do.
Mhm.
They don't really care that I optimize this page and that page, it built some links and this and that. They want to know results.
Mhm.
And that's why every client gets a report every month showing what the results are.
Mhm.
And as long as I can keep the conversation in terms of that, what do they care if I took and wrote 20 blog posts or one if they're getting more leads?
Mhm.
And what do they care how much time or what things I did? They kind of don't. They just don't even care.
Right.
And that's why that monthly report is so very important, because it puts the terms of that. But for someone who's been burnt, maybe you can show them, well, what were they giving you? Were they giving you any sort of report once a month?
Yeah. They had no goals or anything set up in analytics.
Right.
They just had analytics running. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you can say, well, you know, that's a real shame that they didn't even track that.
Mhm.
Because you as a philosophy are always going to show them what they got as a result.
Mhm.
And that's why working with me is going to be very different than working for them, because I'm not just about doing something. You paid for X commodities, right? Whether the commodity is a blog post or a link or a citation, you're just paying for commodities. Maybe you don't need those commodities, but you pay for them and you got them.
Yeah.
But that's not what we're doing here. We're going to get you goals. So 1 month we might pay for, we might put some time into building citations. 1 month we might write a couple blog posts. 1 month we might do this or that. But the whole purpose is to help them see that this is not, you know, sometimes people think of advertising as a sunk cost of doing business. You have to burn the money because it's going to do something.
Yeah.
But online advertising is never a sunk cost. It is always a return on investment. So it's a required, yes, you have to pay money to get something, but you will always be getting more than you spent.
Mhm.
Now, I always caveat that, say it take us 6 months to get ramped up.
Mhm.
Right. It's going to take us time to get ramped up. So if you would be able to trust me for 6 months, at the end of the 6 months, if it's not working, you will know that it's not working. And the data will be there to show you that it's not working.
Yeah.
And then you should fire me if that's the case.
Mhm.
But at the end of 6 months, you are actually starting to see some leads come in, and those leads are converting into good customers or sales or whatever their goal might be. Well, now we're just getting started, right? Now we're just starting to see the potential here. And now it's no longer a sunk cost. It is now something you are making money off of. And that's the whole point.
Yeah.
And anything you can do to pivot the conversation that way, rather than, well, it's just $100 I got to spend every month. No, it's $100 that should make you $5, or $5 that makes you $1,000, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever your costs might be. And, you know, they very well could have been burned enough where it's not it's going to be real hard to think of. But
Mhm.
the advantage of pivoting a client to this way is that you're not competing with Fiverr or email spammers, right? You are an expert who provides a service that's much more than just another commodity that someone else does.
Yeah. Strategy.
Right. But it's tough. It's a tough conversation especially for those who've been burned. And maybe starting on a project basis and recommending which projects. We're going to start with analytics, because no matter what you do, you need to know if it's working or not.
Yeah.
So even if you're doing it yourself, you'll know
Yeah, you
it,
have to measure it.
right?
Yeah, this one particular contractor, I took over hosting his website a year ago. And so it was just paying for base level hosting and care for his WordPress website, and he eliminated some costs on his website. The original web agency had like no upfront costs. It was sign up for our monthly plan. We'll build you a website and we'll SEO your website for an ongoing, undetermined amount of time. And when he finally talked to me 2 years ago, he was still paying like $800 a month for his website, and this was like 6 years in.
Well, and he wasn't,
Then he got it knocked down to pay just for the hosting and some other SEO services for a year for like $300 or $400. And then last year I finally got him on my plan, charging him $79 a month because it's a static WordPress website. There's no content updates, so I back it up once a month, and do all the updates. Nothing changes about it.
I bet you that other company was upset to lose that 800 a month. They probably weren't doing anything for.
Yeah, and I mean they're real friendly with each other. My client and the former agency, I worked with them on transferring everything. They're really nice to work
That's
with.
good. Yeah.
But he keeps going back to saying, well, this other company was only charging this, but he has trouble understanding what they were doing, can't repeat like what they were doing, doesn't have the contract to refer to. So it's tough. I think there's a lot of potential there. He's a real nice guy. He's in my weekly networking group is how I even met him. So he trusts me on that level. But I think you're right. Maybe just doing a few things here and there to show him potential, and getting everything up to speed first, so that if we do work together on a larger scale in a year from now, we have more metrics to go off of.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I've seen agencies price themselves in many, many different ways. Some are more honest than others. And some are kind of downright despicable.
Yeah, I've run across some of those.
And the most despicable was the agency that I know that had the most number of clients, not the one I formerly worked for, who's another one. And their whole philosophy was, we only do anything if you complain.
Yeah.
So they would have big retainers, and you literally wouldn't touch it, or even think about your site unless you'd complain to them about something.
Yeah.
And their whole philosophy is get more clients that wouldn't complain. And that's really kind of despicable to me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's what drives me so much to offer this service, and why I'm here to learn it, because, obviously I want to make a living, and I enjoy this. But man, it makes me sick to see what happens to small business owners,
Same here. That there's some in the kind of local SEO that like really get me worked up. So I completely agree. I want to mention just a second about what David was talking about the services not being like a commodity. I like what you said about that, David, about like, you're not offering X number of blog posts a month or X number of citations or backlinks, because just because you're offering them, that they could all be garbage, not like the previous person, the other person. Just say, well, we're giving you, 2 blog posts a month plus 20 citations a month plus X number of backlinks. They could have been doing it, but they could have been garbage, and they maybe could have even hurt them. So making sure that they understand that the work, they have to make sure they get quality work out of it too, not just the actual say that they're doing these things.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're going to compete with commodities, it's always a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
It's always a race to someone can do it cheaper and more for cheaper. And it's not good for the client, and it's not good for us to provide that kind of commodity. It's better for us to do less and get bigger effect.
Yeah.
Than do more and say, look at us, we did a lot of things.
Yeah.
one of my former agencies that I used to work for would created this point system, and you get a point for every dollar you spent every month, and that point generated so much amount of work. And so at the end of the month, they could show, look at all the things we did for you. But whether those things were things that made a difference,
Yeah.
right, weren't necessarily the focus. And so again, the philosophy ended up being, but we did all this stuff for you.
Yeah.
And sometimes clients be like, but it's not working,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Well, we got to pick the right things. Well, you're not picking the right things, right?
Yeah.
And that's why it's so very important to have that conversation about, this is not a sunk cost. This is a return on your investment. And if you can't quantify the return on your investment, you're not really doing marketing.
Yeah.
You are just throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping it sticks. And maybe you'll get a client now and then, but that's not what this is. That's not real marketing. That is wishful thinking.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're going to be able to show you what you got. And that's, I'm proud of that. I'm proud of what I've given for you, client. I'm proud that you're so busy you can't return my emails, right?
Yeah.
I'm proud that you had to hire a whole new division of people because you're making too much money, right? I'm proud that I'm a rounding error in your marketing budget at this point because you've made, these are great. These are things that I want my clients to have. Like, I'd much rather be a factor of, why would I not pay David? It's so small compared to what I'm doing, and I'm still delivering value. Then, well, might as well pay the $100 a month because, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Because you got a certain number of things.
Yeah, I got a certain number of things, or because I paid for the SEO, magically something must be happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I do the same thing with my branding. Like when I design logos, I don't, some people be like, I deliver 3 logos or I deliver 18 logos for you to choose from. I don't put a number on it. I just go into my creative process and we'll get through it and build upon it collaboratively and land on something you really enjoy that properly represents you. But, I don't say that I'm going to deliver 9 logos or something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's kind
'cause
of
you're an
similar
expert.
to-
You're not a commodity.
Yeah.
Right.
You want a commodity, go to 99 Designs and get a bunch of commodities. And surely you'll like one of them, or at least good enough.
It's
for
like
the
it
price,
enough. Yeah.
Then you'll
right?
hire somebody to turn it into something that you were really looking for, which you
Right.
get a lot of,
Right.
I got it
Right.
90% of the way. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Well, good talk.
these are good questions. Unfortunately, Tim, I wish there was an easy answer to your question, but yeah.